Blessed be. Today is November 4th, and it is National Candy Day. So someone came up with National Candy Day, 4 days after Halloween and trick-or-treating? Really? This is what we've come to with society? It's not even well planned or timed. You'd think they would maybe make this holiday, 6 months from one of the biggest candy commercialized holidays. But then again, how many of them are not candy capitalistic? Oh well. Today at work, I did my weekly review. And usually I go over my weekly time blocking sheets and just kind of see what was outstanding. And just recently I've decided to go in and spend more time writing out my successes and wins. Not just the fact that I got things done, but what were they? Kind of like a little mini journal. So I will say I got a lot done this week without kind of realizing it until I did this exercise. I signed up for a new class. It's almost an addiction to keep signing up for classes before I process some of the ones I've just gotten done with. But I've got another one starting next week. We have booked a string quartet for the ceremony portion of the wedding. This is my fiance's idea. He's got some master plan for the song he wants for the procession. I don't even get to know what it is. But he wanted it played live. This was his indulgence for the event, and I'm going to let him roll with it. So they are picked and paid for, and we got that part done. And let's see what else. A little bit of chatting on LinkedIn. I'm trying to work on being a little more social on some of the professional sites, CAD forums, things like that. Because if I'm going to go to these places to ask for help, I also need to make sure I'm giving it. And then I attended a pop-up event about manifestation. It was really neat. The whole focus was kind of spending some time, thinking about what it is you want. And, with affirmations, things like that. Theirs started with, it's totally possible. It's totally possible I can get myself to make a recording Monday through Friday and get my post here on the site. It's totally possible I will, things like that. It's a really fun exercise, and again, really dedicating that time to reflect on angles I may not fully have developed. Some of the other questions, now I've had this on my review list and I haven't paid it much attention, is reflecting questions. What should I have done this weekend? Or this week, looking back. What should I do for next week? And what should I stop doing? All great questions. Wait, you're sliding out of my lap. So reflection questions. What should I have gotten done? One thing that I did not get done is messing with my 401k. That's a big mess, as the company went through the acquisition, what it took to move the money, and I failed to do so properly on my first attempt. So now it's hanging out in limbo, and I need to get on the ball, stop avoiding it, figure out what it is that I have, figure out what it is what they need, and start sending out some messages to gather what I need. What should I do? So for next week, trying to give myself, what am I going to focus on? That's going to prepare me for some big term goal. And one of the things that I really want to get done this coming week is portfolio pieces. So whether it's going to be for my annual review at this company, or I just don't make it and I need something to show my worth to a new one, I've got that visual representation of my skill set. So I've got some really neat ideas. Part of what that's actually, I got to this a little bit today because I'm making myself a title block. And I had printed it, the little 8.5 by 11. And then I realized, again, with AutoCAD, the nuances. So in general, with work, I print to PDF at full bleed. Well, the template that I used to make mine was on full bleed, but then when I went to print on a regular printer, it cut it off. So I was like, you know what, for something personal that, say, I may need to take to Kinko's to get printed, I think I should make it down to the regular sized margins. So I changed the settings, shrunk my title block a little bit, readjusted some of the things that were in there. That kept me busy. And it was a really interesting exercise to see how what setting affects what later on down the road. But that's the neat part about having dove in so far when I was creating this, because I kind of get where seeing how it printed, I knew what went wrong pretty much immediately. So that made me really proud of myself. And I took steps to get it corrected, and we'll see how that goes. Let's see, the other thing, what should I stop doing? Stop getting distracted by unimportant tasks. The 401k, that's an important task, and it's urgent. That needs to be the high priority. What did I do instead? I looked up wedding sites for different shopping experiences. I'm going to maybe a couple flower choices. Then I'm looking up cake choices. And you know what? They're important, but they're not urgent. I've got to really get better at focusing what my priorities are. And what will I focus on next week, which is the title block and really breaking down all the steps I'm going to need. Again, going back to that checklist style. This is kind of a bigger project than I realized. It sounded like, I'll make a portfolio. But then it's like, now I'm feeling the overwhelm. Well, what does that mean? Because I really haven't had one since college. And I need to really reverse engineer the steps. Again, what's my end goal? These visual representations. What do I need to do to get them? Well, I need to decide what I want to capture for my portfolio. And again, so that kind of makes its own list. And then from there, when I have what I want to get captured for a visual representation, then it's like, okay, now I've got to go find the resources for all these things and stuff like that. There's so many little micro steps that I want to see and be able to check off and keep myself on track with, so I can see what the very next step is to get what I want in the end. So that was my week this week, and printed out my sheets for next week, got them filled in, getting started with the portfolio being one of the main focuses. We'll call it like for growth and stuff like that. If you'd like to hear more entries into the CAD Witch's Grimoire, don't forget to hit subscribe. And until next time, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.